Welcome back. In part 1 we covered some key Excel functions, and now in part 2 we'll go through some more powerful ones like VLOOKUP versus XLOOKUP, string functions like left or right, and handy tools like AutoSum or SUMIF. Let's get started. Have you ever had to extract just a part of a text that you had in Excel? There are many functions that can help you with that, and today we're going to look in 3 of them: left, right, and TEXTSPLIT. So what we can do with the left function is extract a specific number of characters from the left side of our string. So here I start typing left and then highlight the text from which we would like to extract certain characters. And then we have to specify how many characters we would like to extract. So what if I put 4 and press enter? Well, the 4 more to the left characters of the cell is the word call. What if I rewrite the function now, like this? And then specify 6 characters. You see, now we have the call, then the space, and then the O, so call O. The same logic holds true, but from the other side, using the right function. For example, if we start typing here right, then highlight the text, and then, for example, just the number 1, we will get the most to the right character, which in this case is the number 3, and so on. Finally, the TEXTSPLIT function can split the contents of a cell into multiple cells using a delimiter that we specify, such as a dash, a comma, or a space. So here we can see that all the titles of the video games have a colon symbol that splits the Call of Duty part from the rest of the title. What if we would like to split this in 2 parts? We can use the TEXTSPLIT for that. We start typing TEXTSPLIT, then highlight the text, then specify the delimiter, which in our case is the colon, and then that's it. So here you see it's split into cells, and we can of course drag this formula down, and you see that it propagates. Large and small. Large returns the highest values in a list in any position you choose, sorted. For example, the number 1, 2, or 3, while small returns the smallest, the lowest values in the same list. For example, 1 or 2 or 3 from the bottom. Let's have an example. So here we have the games as well as the sales that they have made. And I have actually sorted this list from top to bottom for verification purposes. But imagine that you have a very big dataset whose values are not really sorted. Let's say that I would like to understand what is the third highest game in terms of sales. I can come here, type large, and then select the array of the values, and then the number 3, as we're looking for the third highest. So we get 16.15, and indeed you can see it's the third biggest value here. What if we would like now to understand what is the lowest sales value in this dataset? I can come here and use the small function. And the lowest is really the first from the bottom if we had ordered these values. So as an array, I'm going to select, of course, again the column B, and since we're looking at the first from the bottom, so the lowest, I'm going to put the number 1 here. Press enter, and you get 3.52. What if we go to the end of this dataset? And indeed, the lowest value in terms of sales is 3.52. Next up, SUMIF. It adds up values that meet a certain condition, for example, the amount of sales that happened in a certain region or by a specific salesperson. Let's see an example. So here I have the consoles, the genres, and the total sales that each combination of console and genre generated. What if I would like to get the total sales by genre regardless of the console of the game? I can use SUMIF for that. I can start by typing SUMIF, and then the range where we're gonna check the criteria, and we said that we're gonna look for each genre separately. So the range for us is the genre column, and the criteria is the value of the genre here. The sum range is the column that we will sum across based on this criteria, and the column that we will sum is the column of sales, so column G in our case. So we're gonna close the brackets, press enter, And here we can tell that for the shooter genre, the total sales were around 380 USD. What if we drag down this formula? And just to verify, we can see again how this cell calculates. If we double click, we can see that there is a sum operation over the column D, so over our sales, only for the rows that specify certain criteria, specifically that their column C, so the genre column, have the value action, and so on for the rest of the different genres. VLOOKUP, probably the most popular Excel function. Although this is a very useful function, it's also very limited, and we can see just after a better iteration of it, the XLOOKUP. But for now, let's see an example. So here, let's say that we have two tables, one that holds the titles and genres of the video games, and one that holds the titles and the publishers. Now, for my analysis, I would like to bring this information over to here, to column C. So for each one of the titles, I would like to map here the value of the publisher. This is a classic use case of VLOOKUP, where I'm gonna take the title of this row and look for it within this table. Specifically, I'm gonna look it in column F, the first column of this table range. And once I find it, I'm gonna go and pick up the value from the second column, the publisher column, and bring it over here. So how this will work in terms of syntax? I will start typing VLOOKUP, then specify the lookup value, so the value that I'm gonna be searching. In this case, this is just the cell A2. And then I have to specify what is the array where I'm looking for this value. In this case, the array is the columns F and G. And as we said, and this is very important, VLOOKUP will look for this value within the first column of this range. And then we can say to Excel, after it finds the value, to which column to go for finding our answer, so the publisher in this case. The column F is the number 1 column, while the column G is the number 2. So here, since our answer will be in column G, we can say 2. Finally, as the last argument, we have to specify if, when we're looking for a match of the titles, we want to have an exact match or an approximate match. I always go for an exact match, except for special occasions. So I'm gonna just go for false. You can also put the number 0, it's the same, and then close your brackets. So indeed, we can see that the publisher for the Grand Theft Auto V is Rockstar Games, and we can also see it here just for verification purposes. And we can also drag this formula down. Now, VLOOKUP is a great function, but it comes with its limitations. In the previous example, we used the game title as a common field, let's call it a primary key, between the first and the second table in order to find the publisher information. But for VLOOKUP to work, the game title should be the first column of the second table where we're looking for the publisher information. Otherwise, this wouldn't work. On top of that, the publisher information could only be towards the right side of the primary key of the game title column for this to work. And this is not very flexible. For example, in a real-life dataset, you might have a reference column and you would like to search for a value that is part of another column towards the left side of this dataset. And VLOOKUP doesn't quite cut it there. But thankfully, there is a new version of it, XLOOKUP, that has come to make your life easier. Let's look at an example. Here I have again two tables. The first table has the publisher and the title information, while the second one has the console and the title information. Again, we have a common column between the two tables, the title information, and we can use it as a reference or as a primary key, as I like to say, in order to bring this console information over to column C. But please note that while our common column is in column G, the piece of information that we would like to extract is to the left side, so column F in this example. But XLOOKUP can work with that, and we can start by typing here XLOOKUP, then specifying the lookup value, so the value that we're looking for, in this case is the title from the same row, and then the lookup array, so within the second table, what column we're looking to find this title in, and of course is column G that holds all the titles. Finally, the return array, so within which column we wish to find our answer, and in our case is column F, the console information. We can close the brackets And here you have it, PS3. And I can of course drag down this function again. Finally, AutoSum. In Excel, there is so many functions to aggregate numbers, such as sum, average, count, and so on. And of course you can use any of them, but the fastest way to aggregate a row or a column is by using the AutoSum function. So here I have some Assassin's Creed releases and the different sales that they generated. Now that I have highlighted this range, I can go under Home, and here that has the Sigma icon, and if I press it, Excel recognizes the range and actually by default sums those values, and if you double click here you can see what has been the calculation. What if you would like, instead of sum, to have the average? Well, you don't have to type average here, you can just go here in the drop down and select average and press enter. So now you have the average across all those values. What if you would like instead to count the different numbers that you have within this range? You can come here and select count numbers and again enter. Finally, what if you're interested in the max or the min number within this cell range of yours? Well, again, you can use AutoSum, just select what you want and press enter. I hope you liked it. If you found this helpful, like, subscribe and comment below. See you in the next video.